All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We'll be with you until 6 p.m. here today. We do have another good giveaway for you. Luke Bryan is coming to the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 8th. We'll give those tickets away coming up at 4:45 p.m. We also have Scott Miller, contributor to the New York Times, has spent a lot of his career covering the San Diego Padres. He will join us at 4:30. The Padres will play game 2 of a series today in Chicago against the Cubs. They're facing the best pitcher in baseball this year, Shota Imanaga.
I didn't realize how good he was.
Who has been utterly dominant. Sub-1 ERA, 5-0 overall. And here's what I'm going to say right now. I happened to say it last night. If the Padres win today, not that this is the end-all be-all, but if the Padres win today, I am all in on this team. I am completely all in on this team. I'm not telling you you're going to win the division or win the World Series, but I am a full believer. If they beat Shota Imanaga and the way they're playing here, the acquisition of Suarez, I know he's off today. I know Manny's got another day where he's not in the field. He's DHing. But if they can just find a way, and even good pitchers have bad outings, Imanaga has not to this point, but they win yesterday with another big inning. They're like the kings of big innings. They're 500. A chance to go over 500 today against arguably the best pitcher in baseball this year in Imanaga. So that's where again, they don't have to win today, and winning today doesn't make the season, but I am all in on the Padres if they can win here today in Chicago.
Wow.
All in. Completely all in. Completely. I'm a full believer. Full believer. They just need to win tonight against the best pitcher in baseball on the road. All they got to do.
So what if they lose?
I still think they have a chance to be good, but I'm just telling you, that's where I am with the Padres, because I went from cautiously optimistic to optimistic when they acquired Suarez. I'm looking at the way they're playing baseball, and I think they're playing really well, despite the fact that they're 19-19 overall. I'm a huge believer in their offense right now, and I think the next step they take is beating a really good starting pitcher, and hopefully that starts tonight.
Wow.
You disagree?
I don't disagree, but I think after the Suarez trade and just seeing this offense all year long, the Musgrove thing did kind of hurt, but I think I've been in on this team. Like I'm in.
No. Hold on. So you're saying you're already all in?
I don't. You define all in.
Because, you changed like the wind.
Well, here's the thing. Of course, I'm all in with this team. What am I going to do? Just give up right now?
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in this team.
Believer.
There's a difference. We consume it. I'm all in if they go 50 and 112. I'll cover it like they're going 112.
We're always
and
all
50.
in with this team. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all in terms of it's what we're going to talk about each and every day, and San Diegans know that. But I'm a believer in the team, and I even am right now. I'm optimistic on this team. I really am optimistic on this team, and I'm not saying it's defined tonight. But if I get one more data point, especially in this circumstance, the Cubs are 12-5 at home. They have the best pitcher in baseball on the mound. And if the Padres can win this game, then like what else are you looking for the Padres to do, I guess, to prove that they're a capable, viable playoff type team?
So basically beat a really, really good pitcher is what you're looking for.
That's what I'd like to see. And I think they've done it this year. Now, they've also had some outings where they haven't played well against good pitching.
The Phillies series.
And the Phillies have won, 7 or 8 straight right now, have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
So I didn't say, be clear, I'm not saying they're the best team in baseball. I'm saying I am so much more trustworthy of this team today than I was at any point a year ago with the Padres.
Oh, that's a given, I feel like.
That wasn't a given 4 days ago.
Well, at this
point
in time, like, you're right. It wasn't 4 days ago, and then they made the trade, and they played good baseball. They won 4 in a row, and they've won 5 of their last 6 after a 5-game losing streak.
Right.
I have said I feel different about this team. This team is has what it didn't have last year, which was a ton of grit. They have a ton of fight, and their offense is a complete 180 from last year. Everything's flipped. Everything is top 10. Last year it was bottom 10. This year it's all top 10. And the names on the lineup, like, if you're just looking at the names, they might not look that flashy, right? Jurickson Profar, Luis Campusano, Jake Cronenworth. To San Diegans, Jake Cronenworth is amazing, but like maybe on a national level, like who's thinking of Jake Cronenworth, right? But
no, you don't think he's like Patrick Mahomes of baseball?
No, unfortunately not. No disrespect to the newly engaged Jake Cronenworth,
right.
but probably not.
Okay.
Jackson Merrill, right? Like these guys aren't household names by any stretch. Yet the names I just listed off are the guys that have been the biggest contributors to making this offense a top 10 offense in baseball right now, which is crazy to say because I didn't mention Tatis, Machado, or Bogarts.
Right, those three, the $1 billion boys.
Right, the $1 billion, the triple Bs.
Right.
And that alone has given me enough to believe in them, to think that they have a legitimate shot here to contend for the postseason. Because the other night on the wrap-up show, and I think yesterday on Jon and Jim as well, I forget. I mean, he's going over the teams that will be fighting for the final wildcard spot in the National League.
Sure.
It's not really, at this point in time, it could change. At this point in time, it's not really like this daunting task. You're talking about the Reds, who have lost, I think, 5 in a row. The Giants are in a tailspin. The Diamondbacks are completely underwater right now because of all their injuries. Does anybody believe that the Washington Nationals are going to be contenders for the whole season? The Pittsburgh Pirates, same thing.
Yeah, but you're missing my point. My point is, it's not contingent on the rest of the National League. Although you'd be led to believe, if you've listened to me a lot, that it may be. But that's where I'm now drawing a line in the sand. Here's my line of delineation. Here's the next step for the Padres. I'm a believer in them. I'm not a disbeliever in Bob Melvin with the Giants. I kind of am. Or I'm not a disbeliever in the Diamondbacks because of their injuries, although I kind of am. I'm saying I'm kind of a believer now in the Padres. And let me say this real quick. 619 says, John, have you seen the lineup today? The Padres aren't even going all in today's game.
It's an interesting lineup.
I completely disagree. And let me explain why. So Arise is going to sit against left-handed pitching occasionally. Merrill is going to sit against left-handed pitching occasionally. You're facing elite left-handed pitching. I'm not saying Jose Azocar is the answer or Kyle Higashioka is the answer. But if you're going to sit guys, make it make sense. And that's what they're doing for me here today. You get Machado back in there against left-handed pitching. So this lineup, honestly, this is just what you do. Over 162, you face elite left-handed pitching. Why put your onus on guys that might struggle in those spots? I'm not saying Arise. Arise can flat out hit. But if he's going to get a day, this makes sense. And then Merrill, if he's going to get a day, this makes sense. They have not punted on this game going in. You could say they punted down 11-4 to Arizona the other day, and we could get into the merits of that. I'd back Shota on that as well. But you're not punting on this game based on your lineup going in. I promise you that.
Yeah, see, for me, if they lose tonight, it's not going to change my opinion even if they win. I still think they're going to compete for a wild card spot.
Sure.
I still think they have if they stay healthy, which is, you knock on wood always there, that they have a legitimate chance to make the postseason this year with the pieces that they have. Because of the teams I mentioned, it's hard for me to envision like one of those teams and looking at those teams' rosters and being like, that's a better roster than the Padres. That's a better roster than the Padres. They could get hot. I think the Padres, out of the teams I mentioned, have the best roster. I think they do. So that's why tonight for me, and I get what you're saying, like this would be a great win tonight with that lineup against this pitcher,
Randy Vasquez.
Randy Vasquez on the mound.
I need someone to push me in the pool. Well, like sometimes you're just like, you have trepidation. You don't really want to go in, but I need someone to push me into the deep end. I'm in the shallow end. I'm waiting. Is that right? Like Tyler Wadey? I'm waiting in the pool.
It's nice.
I need to be pushed into the deep end.
It's a heated pool.
Well, it's 70 degrees out. I don't even need it to be heated today.
Well, it's nice and cool. If you want to jump in, come on with me.
No, okay, miss. Okay, yeah, because you're at the front of the bandwagon. By the way, if they lose 10-0 the next 2 days, what are you going to be saying about this team?
They need to be better.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean I'm off the bandwagon.
Here's the thing.
There's even a thing as a bandwagon right now.
Like, we got a text from our loyal buddy Mark Nimitz, who says, if Vasquez beats Imanaga, I'm inviting myself to Jim's wedding. This isn't U.S. Russia Lake Placid stuff. Like, the Cubs are a favorite tonight, but they're not an overwhelming favorite, which is shocking
to me. Why am I so like just level-headed right now? This is not like
you're not.
No, but I am, because you're the one that's saying they win. I am like World Series bound.
No, I didn't say that.
All in, John.
All in on this team, a believer. I didn't say World Series bound. Actually, the first thing I said is I don't think they're going to win the division, or I'm not telling you they're the best team in baseball, but I'd be a believer in the team.
I'm already a believer in this team.
Jim.
What?
Jim.
What? How am I not?
Brett, just play. Can you play sound from the last month, please? You just pull it up. Play whatever you have.
Well, I right now, John, the thing in sports radio.
Believer, I'm saying is like I'm not going to then. I'm going to stay on that path.
Well, guess what? Opinions change.
You always say that.
That's the truth, though.
Yeah, fair. That's reasonable, but that doesn't mean your opinion always has to change just because opinions change.
Well, 2 weeks ago, my opinion on this team might have been more down than it is right now. That's a fact.
Okay, but I've been saying I was cautiously optimistic, and then I went to optimistic, and now I'm saying I need to be pushed into the deep end to be a true believer in this team.
You know me. I'm the roller coaster.
I agree.
I am the highs of the highs, lows of the lows, and right now I feel like this team is playing really good baseball, and I believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at. If they lose tonight, it's not going to change my opinion. Now, if they lose the next 5 games, things might change a little bit.
Right.
But just tonight in general, if they lose, it's not going to make me say, I'm not all in.
No, that's not what I
know.
Said.
Okay. So
because I said if they win.
Only if they win.
There's
I know.
The difference.
But then I'm asking you, what if they lose, though?
That's not defining the season. I'm telling you, they're facing elite starting pitching today in Shota Imanaga. So if you can beat this pitcher in this spot, I am an all-in believer on this team.
So if they but
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they don't have to win the game. My statement is ends. Period. I'm not saying if they lose, the season is over. I'm saying if they win, they've proven to me over a sizable period of time, 1/4 of the season. Is tonight's game 39? 40 will be 1/4 of the season. I feel like I have enough in terms of what we've seen to have a good gauge for what this team is capable of. They're not perfect. They're 5.5 games behind the Dodgers. I don't expect them to win the division. They have starting pitching injuries. But I need to see them beat an elite starting pitcher, which, by the way, I don't have the last 38 games. I think they have fared well at times against good starting pitching, but this is as good of a starter there is in baseball.
Would you consider Yoshinobu Yamamoto an elite starting pitcher?
I don't know. I mean, he has made 7 starts. 5 of them have been excellent, and his 2 starts against the Padres haven't been good. So maybe that's a good example. Yeah, I think I would. His first start was his first start.
Yeah.
So everyone gets a pass.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Like this tonight, if they win, will push you to the point where you're like, I've seen enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
39 games and I've seen enough. They can compete and make a run.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, so how will your opinion differ if they lose, if at all?
Well, I'm not yet in the deep end. I'm just optimistic.
Okay.
That's where I am with this team. But to get me I went from cautious optimism to optimism with the Arise trade. And then I go from optimistic to all in with something that would really be impactful. And again, over 162, sure, it's one game. But I'm looking for something to put me over the edge, to make me a true believer. And there have been some things in there, coming back from 8-0 down, acquiring Dylan Cease, acquiring Luis Arise, 15 innings of 4 runs or more this year. There's some things in there.
All right, so say they win tonight. Say they win tonight 7-1.
Yes.
They light up Imanaga, right?
I'm with you.
And it is like the greatest. I mean, Vandy Vasquez goes 7 scoreless innings.
Yes, he doesn't allow a hit until the 6th.
They light up Imanaga for like 3 home runs.
Yes.
Higashioka has a home run.
Yes.
This guy's out of the game by the 3rd inning.
A Zokar homers.
A Zokar goes 4 for 4 tonight.
Yes.
The greatest win in Padres history.
Right.
What if they lose the next 7 games in a row? Then what?
Well, sure. And just like what if, Jon and Jim ends up, on MTV.
But that's my point is if they win tonight and you say, I'm all in, I've seen enough, but then they lose 7 in a row, is your opinion going to change or are you still going to be all in?
No. You can't do that because I don't know. Nobody knows if they're going to. No,
I just did it.
But that's the easiest thing in the world to do because like I just said with you, of course, you're going to change like the win. I think they could lose 1 in a row. And you might change your tune on the team.
But you see what I'm saying, though, is if you're basing the all-in opinion on just if they can beat – don't spill that. If they can beat Imanaga tonight, well –
then I've seen enough.
But then what happens if they lose 10 in a row? You said you've already seen enough.
They're not – but then based on what I've seen, I'm trusting of this team. You trust Joe Musgrove? Because I could say the same thing. You trust Joe Musgrove, right?
I do.
Before the injury. Forget the injury.
Yeah.
Let's just say he was healthy. But he had a 6.4 ERA through 8 starts.
Yeah.
And if he kept pitching poorly, you would stop trusting him, right?
Well, there'd become a point where you're like, something's off here. Something's wrong. We have to change this. And maybe for the betterment of the team, you should probably move off of him for right now as a starter.
Right. But you wouldn't. But you still, I guess it's different because he's got a 6.4 ERA. What I'm saying is if the Padres in this current state, I'm a believer in them. I think they're going to be able to do that. I'm not going to expect that, I guess is my point. And then if I'm a believer in this team, if I'm seeing them do things that they haven't done previously or they didn't do in 2023, I mean, shoot, I don't think in 2023 they lost 10 straight games or whatever you just threw out
I was throwing it to the mad extreme.
So I'm not going to expect that because it didn't happen in 23 and they weren't very good.
Or about 5 games in a row.
But we just saw that.
I know.
And did I jump off?
Did I jump off?
Maybe. We'd have to listen.
I don't think I jumped off.
I don't know exactly. You were stronger probably than I was.
I think I withheld judgment until the end of the Red Series because at the start of the Red Series I said, "Hey, as long as you just win this series, come Thursday, it's completely different."
Right.
You lose the series versus the Reds, then I would have a different tone on that Thursday.
Sure.
And then they traded for a rise, and then everything kind of flipped there, and then you get the downer with the Musgrove injury, and then you win last night, which feels really good. What you've been saying all year long is the trend lines are good.
Yep.
And that is what I am looking at, and that is a good thing. So I'm optimistic about this team. I feel good about this team. There will definitely be more lows in this season, and there will definitely be more highs in this season. But I think from my point is that
you don't need anything. You don't need more to be optimistic.
I don't need this like stamp of approval more thing like you said that you would have tonight if they win.
I do. And let me explain why. I mean, truthfully, you could argue, sure, John, don't you need more than tonight to really be fully convinced of this team? Well, of course you could say that. But because we all need more. I mean, you're not expecting this team with good trend lines to always be a 500 team. At some point, they'll need to.
They're 19 and 19. They need to be above 500.
Yeah, but here's the beauty of it. There's plenty of time for that. Nothing has been determined as of yet. And there's a lot of encouraging things that we're seeing over 38 games that would lead you to believe if they keep playing the way they have played, maybe they're capable of winning more games than they've won. Maybe that's overly optimistic, and maybe that's why I need to see a win like tonight against Shota Imanaga in Chicago.
And
if they lose, season's over, as I've been saying.
You know, I see people in our chat on YouTube saying, you know, the all-time high in optimism was last season. We never learned, do we? Well, last year it was a lot of the waiting games. And
what all-time high? But heading into the year?
Heading into the year, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody was that high during the year, were they?
No, the year was completely like a downer. Everything at this time last year, John, I guarantee you, if we go back and listen to our show on
we were already like
May
this
7th,
team ain't it.
We probably were saying, yeah, this team just feels off. When's the offense going to come? And that's a problem. You're not saying about this team.
No.
At 19 and 19, is the record the greatest ever? No, it's not. You're 500, right? You're the 6th wild card spot right now, but the standings don't really mean anything.
Yep.
But I feel like this 19 and 19 feels different than if last year's team at this point was 19 and 19.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And that's
why
they
may have been 19 and 19.
Maybe they at one point they were. Maybe I don't know.
They might have been better, truthfully.
Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't. Maybe at one point they were. I don't know.
Yep.
But that's how I'm gauging things. Is like watching these games. How this team, you're not waiting for that big inning ever, right? Because they have given you so many of those big innings.
Yep.
The offense, they give you good at bat after good at bat after good at bat. Yes, we are still waiting for the stars to show up, but just because the stars have not shown up yet doesn't mean that they're like anchoring this team down because the others also aren't doing well. The others are kind of carrying this team right now. You hope that once the stars start performing along with the others, it becomes, you know, this great thing like we saw with their 4-game winning streak they just had.
So a year ago, I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Through 38 games.
Where were they?
They were 19 and 19.
Seriously.
Now, here's the thing. They were not at 500 again until September 29th.
Wow.
They went from 19 and 19 to below 500 until September 29th. They got to 80 and 80. Then they won their last 2 games. They finished 82 and 80. Do you feel similarly about the trajectory of this team? I do not.
I agree with you. Last year's team at 19 and 19, I wasn't feeling great. I would say. This year's team at 19 and 19, I feel completely different. That's just where I'm at right now. Just because of what I've seen, guys that needed to step up this year to have good seasons. They could not have years like they had last year. I'm talking about the others that they have performed. The Bogarts, issue, but he's on a 7-game hitting streak. Hopefully that turns things around. He gets hotter here. Toddy, Manny, those guys, they have a rise now in this equation. And Donovan Solano, by the way, we haven't even mentioned Donovan Solano. They have a back end of the bullpen that is dominant. Robert Suarez, that's going to give you more than 3 outs there. I just feel different about this 19-19 team than I did last year's 19-19 team because of the trend lines and because of what I've seen offensively. And they still have Darvish and they have Dylan Cease. And to me, I feel pretty good with that, all considered, to look around what you have around baseball, around them in the wild card.
And because of what their players are saying. Let me tell you what one of the players on the Padres said last night following a win over the Cubs at Wrigley. We have Scott Miller on the show from the New York Times at 4:30. We have Luke Bryan tickets to give away at 4:45. Listen to what the Padres are saying about the Padres. It doesn't sound like last year, does it? That's next on Jon and Jim. All right, the Padres are saying things about the Padres that the Padres weren't saying about the Padres last year. We'll explain next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Toyota Carlsbad. Relaxed and friendly since 1972. Padres beat the Cubbies last night 6-3. Yu Darvish went 5 scoreless innings. Robert Suarez picked up the 5-out save. Game 2 of that series later today, 4:40 first pitch. Moving over to NBA playoff action in round 2, game 1s between the Celtics and Cavaliers. Tips off at 4 p.m. in Boston. And then the nightcap will be the number 1 seed Thunder taking on the Mavericks. 6:30 tip-off time in Oklahoma City. Spring in now to Toyota Carlsbad and save on over 850 new and used Toyotas with new Toyotas arriving daily. Shop and save on Toyota Carlsbad's great inventory at toyotacarlsbad.com. Toyota Carlsbad, the most relaxed and friendly place for over 50 years.
To give away, we'll do that coming up at 4:45. Also, 760 is chances for you to win bonus bucks. You up $1,000 every day this week. Listen for the keyword and enter it at sportssd.com. You may recall a year ago what Padres were saying about the Padres. Like, who was it? Nelson Cruz?
Hey,
so what's the deal with us, Jake?
Hey, Jake,
why are we not good?
Yeah, what do we need to do to be better? I don't know.
Or Josh Hader being asked, like, hey, how come you're not available to pennant race? He's like, what pennant race? We're like 8 out with 9 to play. And there's Juan Soto saying, well, we kind of quit on games. Yeah, that Seattle series, again, I'm paraphrasing.
Hey, jump on the bandwagon now if you're not on it.
Right.
When we start raking, screw you.
But this year, what they're saying and what I'm reading is different. The most recent example would be Robert Suarez last night, who goes 5 outs for a save for the second time this year.
Incredible. He's having an incredible season.
11 for 11 in saves. So he says this post-game. Honestly, I just feel great about it. I prepare myself every single day to help the team as best I can. If it's more than 3 outs, it's more than 3 outs. How refreshing is that?
Dude.
I mean, that alone is like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I can only imagine what it feels like in their clubhouse. So, I mean, comparing Suarez's availability to Hader's availability, what players were saying a year ago to what players are saying right now in 2024. So it's one thing what we're seeing on field, and I do feel like we're seeing something different, even though the record is the same. It's another thing to see what they're saying, and what they're saying is different from what they were saying a year ago.
Real quick, just do that.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. It wasn't just yesterday. It was the start of the season when Robert Suarez had the 5-out save. And what did Joe Musgrove say? It's nice to have a guy in this clubhouse that's willing to go more than 3 outs.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it makes everybody be like, all right, team player. And I'm not blaming everything on Josh Hader from last year. But to your point, like, yeah, these little things can resonate in a big way. Just as simple as like, hey, give me the freaking ball.
Right.
And then not only that, it's he goes out there and he performs. It's one thing if you're like, hey, give me the ball, and he goes out and gives up 4 runs every time. Like, then we're like, we're not going to give you the ball, actually.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Like, we're only going to give you the ball if you actually can, like, perform. And that's what Robert Suarez is doing right now. His performance this year so far has been amazing. And it's, you could probably argue that, this team has 2 or 3 extra wins just by what Robert Suarez alone has given to this team in the back end of that bullpen. When last year we were kind of crying out loud for Josh Hader to come in the game in like the 8th inning with the game on the line. And maybe last year's team has 2-3 more wins and maybe in the postseason.
Right.
And with Robert Suarez, like, that's an emphasis this year is, hey, every win counts. Every game counts. And if we have an opportunity to deploy this amazing closer for us right now to help secure that win, maybe down the road, that 1 or 2 extra wins that we picked up in April and May, where he went 5 outs, makes a difference in September and maybe in October.
We mentioned this earlier, but someone texted in. So 913 saying, do you guys feel the Padres are conceding today's game with his lineup change? And then someone earlier said the same thing. But actually, Mark Nimitz has texted us. And then there's people on the text line. They're not concede. I don't understand this.
Here's how they concede the game. They wave the white flag. They forfeit. They don't even go out there.
Machado wasn't in the lineup yesterday.
And they won
against the left-handed pitcher, and they won the game. It's not as simple as one player. If it was as simple as one player, then they would have won a lot of games last year with Juan Soto in their lineup. Today, the player that's out of their lineup has only played 3 games for them. It's Luis Suarez. He's facing a really good left-handed pitcher, and he does a lot of his damage against right-handed pitching. So is it because Arise isn't in the lineup?
Jackson Merrill's getting a rest day.
Yeah.
To me, conceding would be, okay, Manny, you're not going to play. Bogarts, you're not going to play either. Most of their core guys are still in there. It's just,
this is not conceding, guys. I know everybody would want the same lineup every single day. It's not fantasy baseball, and it's not MLB The Show 2024. These guys, it's a long season, and they are in the midst of, I think, 13 consecutive games, if I'm not mistaken. Or was there an off day in there?
I forget. Did they have last Thursday off? They were off last Thursday.
Yeah, they had an off day.
Oh, just kidding.
How about this? Luis Arise hits 330 against righties, and he hits 260 against lefties. Does that help explain why he would sit against a really tough left-handed pitcher? Guess what? Jackson Merrill hits righties better than he hits lefties. Guys, they have the data.
Yeah.
Like they get it. They're not punting anywhere. And by the way, over the course of a 7-day week, Jose Azocar is going to start a game. Kyle Higashioka is going to start a game. They're on your team. You don't win with 19. You win with 25 or 26 players. That's how it's going to work.
It's so easy to look at this lineup and be a fan and be like, this lineup sucks. I can't believe it. Why is Schulte doing this? They're conceding the game. Oh, my God.
Right.
That's just not baseball. Like, I mean, read the lineup to me again, John. Like, read the full lineup.
The full lineup today is Jurickson Profar.
He's
back
top
leading
5
off
in baseball.
Fernando Tatis Jr., who's been terrible against left-handed pitching.
Okay.
Jake Cronenworth, who's been awful against left-handed pitching, but had 2 hits yesterday.
Okay.
Manny Machado, who's great against left-handed pitching.
Okay, so stop. Before Luis Arise, that was the top 4.
3 days ago, yeah.
3 days ago. That was the top 4 that this team was going to ride with.
Right.
For the foreseeable future. So what's so bad about the top 4 of that lineup? That Luis Arise is not in there? Well, guess what? Jurickson Profar has been amazing, and he might go 0 for tonight, but still, he's been amazing. So continue.
Yeah. Arise is obviously going to play a ton, but he has today
off. What's the rest of this lineup?
Xander Bogaerts, who's Xander Bogaerts.
Same top
2
5
hits yesterday. Donovan Solano, who's like the second coming of Sammy Sosa.
Yeah,
maybe
better.
Not. Except he doesn't hit any home runs.
No, he's the singles hitter, Sammy Sosa.
Right. Ha-Seong Kim.
Okay.
Jose Azocar for Merrill, which again is understandable against a lefty.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Higashioka.
So everyone's freaking out that Kyle Higashioka is in the lineup, basically.
I mean, if you want to say they're punting, you say, well, Randy Vasquez is starting. Well, someone has to start. Joe Musgrove's on the IL.
That's not like the worst lineup in the world, guys. Is it because Kyle Higashioka is in the lineup? Well, Kyle Higashioka is going to have to be in there some days, right? He's deemed one of the better backup catchers in baseball. You can't have Campy play every single day. I know he had a great game yesterday with the bases clearing double, but you also have a day game tomorrow. Okay. And they had things set up where I'm sure you gave Campy the night off tonight so he can be in the day game tomorrow. Right? Like, this is all about looking forward now when you are in this part of your season. That lineup, guys, it's the same lineup that they would have put out there even if they didn't have Luis Arise. So I don't know why people are bitching and complaining about this is a lineup that's considered punting.
Yeah.
When the top 5 in the lineup is the exact same top 5 in the lineup that you would have had out there for the foreseeable future if you didn't have Luis Arise on this team.
And sometimes you have to, here's what you need to do as a manager. You don't try to put squares in as circles. If guys don't hit left-handed pitching, and I'm not saying make Jackson Merrill a true platoon. He has to face left-handed pitching. But if there's a day to sit him, you're talking about a guy that's carving up Major League Baseball. If there's a day to sit a guy that might not be as good against lefties as he is against righties, it's probably today. Now, could I argue Arise could be in there against left, right, or if you throw with both arms? Of course.
In the postseason, guess what? Luis Arise is probably starting.
Of course. Absolutely. But I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that Arise isn't in the lineup here today against a really good left-handed starting pitcher.
Yeah.
That's my point.
So the quote-unquote punting lineup today, guys, not even close.
Yeah, and again, I mean, they're an underdog because they're facing Shota Imanaga. They'd be an underdog with Luis Arise in the lineup. They'd be an underdog with Juan Soto in the lineup tonight.
What's Imanaga's ERA?
So
0.78.
Like A5.
He's 5-0 with a 0.78 ERA.
0.75 whip.
He's too old to get rookie of the year, remember?
He's 30.
He's like 30. He's close to 30.
I know. I brought that. We were talking about rookies. Was it last week or a week and a half ago? And I brought him up. And you're like, no, he's too old.
Did we?
Yeah.
I think, I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember it.
I don't think you were here.
Okay, that's probably why. Yeah. That makes sense.
So anyway, if you're complaining about this lineup, and they might lose tonight 5-0.
But they might lose. It does. We get so wrapped up in this.
It's not because they didn't have their like good lineup out there. The only person and people that aren't in that lineup that if I guarantee you were in it, you'd be okay with is Campusano. If Campusano's in there instead of Higashioka, is anybody saying that this is their punting lineup tonight?
No, it's not even about whether it's your punting lineup or not. It's also about over like 162 games. It's not just like lineup. Okay, you have a good lineup and you win, and you have a bad lineup and you lose. No, it doesn't work as simply as that.
When you have Toddy, Manny, Bogey, Cronenworth, Profar in the lineup, that's not a bad lineup for these guys this year.
It isn't. Also, the Cubs are getting a boost tonight. We'll tell you what that is on the other side. Plus, we're going to get to some of your calls. Plus, Scott Miller will join us at 4:30 to talk about the Luis Suarez trade. And coming up at 4:45, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Luke Bryan at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 8th. It's Jon and Jim. All right, your calls are next. 877-767-4760. We're getting you ready for Padres and Cubs game 2. And Scott Miller, contributor for the New York Times, joins us at 4:30. Breaking college basketball news from CBS Sports.
This better be good.
The revolutionary NIL tournament set to be staged this year is nearly finalized. 7 of the 8 schools are on board. Plans are to double the field to 16 in 2025. Here's the reporting from Dennis Todd. Here are the schools on board. Texas A&M.
Don't even read this.
Let me read it. Texas A&M, Alabama, Houston. Listen to these teams.
Dude.
Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, who is the #1 prep player in the country.
Yeah.
And the 7th team is San Diego State.
Wow.
So, again, Alabama was in the Final Four.
Uh-huh.
Houston was the #1 team in the country for most of the year last year.
Yep.
Oregon has loaded up in NIL.
Oregon won the Pac-12
and they were very good last year. Remember in the NCAA tournament, they went on a run.
Yep, they went on that run.
Notre Dame's supposed to be a lot better. Rutgers truly has. This is incredible to me. They have the #1 player in the country coming in, prep player. And Texas A&M was good last year. And then there's San Diego State. It says the 8th and final school will emerge from a small group that's being deliberated. Listen to this. Listen to the schools that have engaged in discussions. And I'll tell you why it's interesting. I mean, listen to this 8th school, guys. Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas, Michigan, Syracuse, or Virginia. Which is interesting because Elijah Saunders ended up committing to Virginia UVA yesterday.
Teams like Duke and that should never be considered for this, because isn't the whole point of this, to help the smaller schools to where, with NIL to where does Duke really need NIL help?
Right. Everything is made to favor the big boys. So like when you're a San Diego State, you get
I know that, but that'd be like, I make triple figures in a year, but hey, I need some welfare too. It's just like, no, it's like, that's not for you. That's for people that actually need it. And it's like, Duke doesn't need it.
How about this? But wait, there's more. And I had kind of heard that this was a possibility, that the schools that engage in 2024, a number of them have opted in for a 3-year agreement. And the field's going to go from 8 to 16. in 2025 and beyond. So this isn't, I need to read this whole article. It was published the second we just came back from break. But this, according to CBS Sports, of course, they have the rights for the NCAA tournament, is nearly finalized. The Players Era Festival, 8 teams in 2024 and 2025 expected to double to 16 teams. According to CBS Sports, they are huge brands that are going to be participating. So that's a huge win for San Diego State.
To be
potentially
lumped into that.
Yep.
This is when we're starting to see, I feel like, the effects of making the national championship game a couple years ago and the runs that they've had the last 2 years, making back-to-back Sweet 16s. I don't know if this happens if they don't do that. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe they still are, considered for this tournament and in this tournament. But if they don't make the national championship game, give UConn their best, I guess, threat, their biggest threat in the last 2 years. I mean, no one's even gotten close as San Diego State did at the timing of the game, right? And then following that up with another Sweet 16 run, having the players that have come through here, having an All-American on their team. I mean, do you think that happens if they don't make the national championship game, John?
It's a very fair point because the schools I just mentioned, Jim, to your point, are all Power League schools. Now they're mentioning Gonzaga for like a 2025.
They've made how many Sweet 16s in a row?
9.
Yeah.
So no, it's a fair point. What they also write here, and we can get to the phones in a second, is broadcast rights are yet to be formally secured. The games are expected to be distributed on a streaming service instead of traditional television. The event has come under scrutiny and faced backlash from many in the industry because its emergence poses an existential threat to the traditional tournaments in November and December in college basketball. So something to keep an eye on. Again, not yet officially official, but maybe trending in that direction per CBS. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's start with Dave, who's been very patient. Dave, you're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in, man.
Well, that's great news for San Diego State if that all works out, gentlemen. Thanks to Dutch and the crew out there. I mean, so much credit goes to that administration over the decades, as you well know. So good for them. Anyway, a comment and then a question for you, something a little bit provocative to think about. So first of all, I'll tell you what, for me, the difference of this year's team versus last year's team, this year's team is likable. That group that we had last year, I mean, it just seemed like there was head case after head case, problem after head case. This year's team, win or lose, I can stay behind these guys. I don't know how you feel about that, but it sure makes things a lot more fun when you like the guys.
So is the team more, thank you, Dave. Is the team, I mean, a lot of guys are back and a lot of guys are new. Is the team more, is it overly more likable, the group of individuals?
Well, here's my point on the whole likability stuff, right? If last year's team won 95 games, they'd be very likable. Right? They'd be very likable. But they won 82 and they severely underwhelmed and they didn't even get close to meeting expectations. The expectations this year aren't World Series or bust. Like it kind of felt like it was a little bit last year coming off an NLCS and the money they spent in the offseason. This year kind of just feels like the one singular goal right now is at the end of the year, you're in the postseason. And you'll see what happens then. There's not any expectation beyond that.
Sure.
It's just make the postseason, get in, and see what happens. People will be disappointed if they get in and they lose in the wild card round and, they get swept. Like, of course, it all happens in sports. Your expectations go up once your team has a chance to go far in the postseason run or whatever, right? But with this team, they're 19-19, the same record as last year. Last year's team, if they, being 19-19, we all thought it was a massive disappointment at that part of the season. They should be better than this. Why are they 500? This team's 500. And we're sitting here not even close saying that. We're saying we like where they're at. We like the trajectory that they're on. We like what we've seen so far. We like their offense. They've made 2 big trades that so far have panned out. And the Arise is fairly new, so we need more time with him. But so far through the first month of the year, Dylan Cease looks like the real deal. So it all changes when they win. If they lose, their team's not going to be very likable. If they win, they'll be very likable.
Let's go to John. who's been patient. John, thank you for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Oh, hey, guys. I wanted to make some observations about yesterday's game and see what you think. When I was watching that game last night and we got that 6-0 lead, and then Matsui comes in, promptly walks the first batter, then gives up a home run. You can see he didn't have his stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, no, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a manager this year who's proactive. He didn't leave him in too long. He brought in the next guy, and the next guy was just as bad. And then he brought in the next guy. And then finally you get to Peralta, and he didn't have it either. And you know what our manager did? He put Jeremiah Estrada in. And that got us to Suarez, and we were able to win the game because our manager wasn't sitting back and just letting these guys get banged up. What do you think?
Thank you, John. Better manager in 2024 for the Padres. Let's discuss on the other side. Is it a product of a managerial change that has us more optimistic about this team? Plus, Scott Miller, New York Times, will join us coming up at 4:30. At 4:45, we'll give away Luke Bryan tickets. It's hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
This update's brought to you by Toyota Carlsbad. Relax and friendly since 1972. Padres Cubs. Game 2 of their 3-game series, 4:40. First pitch. Padres took game 1 of this series, looking to win the series today against one of the best pitchers in baseball. Shota Imanaga has a .78 ERA, but 4:40 will be first pitch in Chicago. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. An NBA playoff action. Celtics and Cavaliers about to get underway in Boston in game 1 of their series in the East semifinals. In the Western semifinals, game 1 between the Thunder and the Mavericks in Oklahoma City will tip off at 6:30. Spring in now to Toyota Carlsbad and save on over 850 new and used Toyotas, with new Toyotas arriving daily. Shop and save on Toyota Carlsbad's great inventory at toyotacarlsbad.com. Toyota Carlsbad, the most relaxed and friendly place for over 50 years.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? What have I been saying for weeks on end? Jalen Brunson is that dude. If you've been listening, you've been hearing me say it.
Full breakdown coming up for you in moments.
Now, here's the thing.
Or not.
That open would have been really good because Darren's tried and true with his Nick fandom, and there's been a lot of bad years. And you see Jalen Brunson do what he's doing, which is 4 straight 40-point games. He goes completely off in the fourth quarter yesterday in that comeback against the Pacers. We hadn't necessarily planned to get into it. Maybe we will with the wrap coming up momentarily. Now, caller had chimed in on this. I think it was John who chimed in on this a handful of minutes ago, saying, hey, Mike Shildt is doing things that weren't previously being done. Maybe under Bob Melvin in 2023. Shoot, Jace Tingler, Andy Green. But he's saying, hey, Mike Shildt's a little different here. He's more aggressive as a manager. He's more aggressive with his bullpen. I mean, shoot, nobody's hitting and running more than the San Diego Padres are in 2024. So how much of this, again, it's not this out-of-world start. They're not 20-10 or 25-8 or something like that. They're 19-19. They were 19-19 last year against with Bob Melvin. Is this recency bias, or is Mike Shildt doing a better job with this group that Bob Melvin was doing with last year's group?
Here's the thing. If you want to go with the eye test, maybe you could say yes, but this team is 19-19. Last year at this time, the team was 19-19.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Mike Shildt's doing a better job than Bob Melvin because they were both 19-19 at this point.
It's fair.
I think Mike Shildt is a fine manager. I don't think he's like the greatest manager in baseball. I don't think he's the worst manager in baseball. I think he's fine. I think that.
So, okay, hold on. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Is that bad?
It's not good, is it? It's fine. What's fine? What's the letter grade on fine? C?
Well, the letter grade on fine is like
if you make John dinner and you go, John, how is it? And he just goes, fine.
If Aaron said the ring is fine,
we still eat it. Then I freak out. I go, what?
I know, but it doesn't seem like a ringing endorsement. Right. It's fine.
So is Bob Melvin a better manager in your opinion?
Bob Melvin has a bigger track record.
Better track record
than Mike Shildt.
This will be an interesting 877-767-4760.
I think he's a good manager. At times he's fine.
Bob
Melvin's a good manager, and I think Mike Shildt's a good manager. Okay. They're both fine.
Okay,
like they can be viewed as better than anything the Padres have had here in the last decade, up till the Buddy Black era. But again, Mike Shildt hasn't done anything like egregious, and Mike Shildt hasn't done anything. Actually, I take that back. The one thing that Mike Shildt has done that has been something that Bob Melvin didn't do, and he couldn't do, is the over-aggressiveness with Robert Suarez and the usage of him to deploy him 4 outs, 5 outs. Like, we need to get this win, and he's our best guy. So I'm putting the ball in his hands in this moment. And that's what I do like about Mike Shildt a lot.
But was Bob Melvin able to do that?
That's what I said. Is I don't know if Bob Melvin. I don't know if Bob Melvin was able to do that because
you do know
Josh Hader. We do know,
yeah, you do know he wasn't able to do it. So that's a fair point. That's not really a reflection on Melvin, as much as it is a reflection maybe on these individual players at these points in their careers. Hader wasn't that guy and wasn't as a Padre, and Robert Suarez has proven to be more of that guy. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think there's a huge difference. In fact, I think it's very subjective and it's very hard to say. Now, listen, the Giants probably had higher expectations than their start, and Bob Melvin is managing them. The Padres a year ago had higher expectations than their start, and Bob Melvin was managing them. Now, but in 2022, Bob Melvin took the Padres to the National League Championship Series. How quickly we forget they've done it 3 times in 60 years, and he managed one of those 3 teams.
Exactly. And I guarantee you, everybody in our chat, everybody on the text line, everybody that calls in and refers to Bob Melvin, everybody on social media that refers to Bob Melvin as Sleepy Bob.
Sleepy Bob.
After the 2022 season, nobody was saying Sleepy Bob.
Right.
I mean, again, opinions change, things change. And after last year, everybody thinks that Bob Melvin's a horrible manager now. But if Mike Shildt ends up only winning 82 games with this team this year, are you going to say the same thing about Mike Shildt as he did Bob Melvin because they both won 82 games?
Man, it's a great question. It really is. I mean, would they be considered right? Would it be the same season if they have the same record? You could say yes. I would argue that heading into the season, I'd be like, man, I don't think this roster is as good, but add Dylan Cease, add Luis Suarez. I'm like, it's pretty clear what the organization's thinking about this year, which is we need to get to the postseason. You don't add Dylan Cease and Luis Suarez just to be quasi-competitive and hang around. Like, you're going to have to make the postseason, and Mike Shildt is going to have to lead them there. And there's nothing I've seen from Mike Shildt that leads me to believe he's not capable of leading them to the postseason. In fact, the opposite. I'm seeing an aggressive manager that is pulling the right strings a lot. Not perfectly, but I do think look at the 6th inning yesterday. This thing was a thing of beauty that had 5 singles in it, but they're hit and running everywhere. They're hitting balls through vacated holes. That's not all Mike Shildt, but some of it is. It's not just random dumb luck. Who starts the runners? The manager is starting the runners. So I give Mike Shildt some credit for the way this team has played, but I give Bob Melvin credit for the way this team played in 2022.
Like someone in our chat said that they honestly believe if Mike Shildt was managing in 2022, they might have made it to the World Series. I'm not going to even get close to saying that.
That's hard to say. No. I don't know. I mean, I was critical of Bob Melvin in the postseason and in that NLCS.
A manager can make a difference, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But how much is a manager going to make a difference with the amount of egos that you have in that clubhouse?
Right.
It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. And I don't know if you brought Joe Torre back and put him in that clubhouse. I don't think things really changed much, honestly. Maybe a win or two here or there. But, I mean, the players were the biggest reason why that team was a failure this year or last year. And this year, guess what? When Jerkson Profar is hitting 344 for you, makes Mike Shildt look like a better manager.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes out there and makes a pitching change and puts Robert Suarez in for a 5-out save, and he goes boom, 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 boom. Yep. Guess what? Makes Mike Shildt look like an amazing manager.
Right.
And I do applaud Mike Shilt's aggressiveness because, like I said, every win's going to count this. Every win matters this year. Because it does feel like, even though I think the Padres are the best, have the best roster of the teams I mentioned the first hour that are going to compete for that 6th wild card spot. No matter what, this thing's going down to the wire, it feels like. So every win is going to feel huge going down the stretch. And hopefully in September, we're saying, man, remember those couple games that Robert Suarez had at the beginning of the year when he had a 5-out save and the Padres make the postseason by 2 games? Those are 2 games I can look back at as Mike Shildt being a big reason why they're there, because he was uber aggressive with Robert Suarez. And that's not an indictment on Bob Melvin, because Bob Melvin couldn't do that with Josh Hader because Josh Hader wouldn't do it.
Yeah, like, it's interesting. Like, what is the value of a manager is a conversation you could have for forever and never get to the bottom of it. Like, it's not something that's tangible. There's no back of a baseball card that says this manager had this war. Now, managers have records with teams. Was Joe Torre a better manager with the Yankees than he was with the Cardinals when the Cardinals weren't good and the Yankees were good? Now, I do think a manager matters. Now, I was highly critical of Bob Melvin in games 4 and 5 of the NLCS. His usage of Shota Imanaga, his usage of Mike Clevenger, his usage of his bullpen in game 5. So, I mean, but then again, that's not to say that if Joe Torre was managing games 4 and 5, they win those games, or Bruce Bochy or Mike Schilt or whomever. That's what makes it hard. You don't know what the other side looks like because you can never get that. You can't run them side by side and see what happens.
And everything that Mike Schilt does, I just hate how it's always compared to Bob Melvin. Like it's like an indictment on Bob Melvin because of Mike Schilt that did this or like this. It's like, guys, these are two different people. They're two different managers. Bob Melvin had the most success here that any manager has had since Bochy. So stop. Like, if you guys are going to sit there and say that Bob Melvin sucks, well, you must have really hated 2022 then. Like, it's enough. They're two different guys. All right. Everything's not this massive indictment on what Bob Melvin wasn't because Mike Schilt maybe is doing things different here.
You're always going to get compared to the guy that was here before you. You know, they shouldn't have been comparing Jace Tingler and Bob Melvin, but people did it.
But here's the thing, though, Brent. If we're going to compare Mike Schilt to Bob Melvin, then Mike Schilt better make an NLCS because that's who you're comparing him to.
Not, but that's where it gets hard. Not necessarily, because it's based on what your front office is giving you. So if the next manager of the Miami Marlins doesn't have Skip Schumacher's 2023 roster, they could be the greatest manager in baseball history, and they might struggle to win 60 games. That's the issue with all these conversations. You know, the Chargers with Phillip Rivers and LT are different than the Chargers with whomever else. So as it all changes, the head coach / manager only has so much at their disposal.
But also, this is not a teardown roster.
True, but it is a different roster. And I'm going to argue that this, payroll / roster, I think a lot of people are going to argue that this / payroll roster might end up being better than the team that had more to its disposal in 2023. It's not a teardown, but it's different. They don't have Juan Soto on this team. They don't have Josh Hader on this team.
Yeah,
it's different.
I don't know if they're better, but they're playing better. Like they're playing the guys that,
and that's where maybe Mike Schilt gets credit.
Maybe, but they're still 19-19. Last year's team was 19-19 too.
Fair.
And I look at the tenure of Bob Melvin, and for whatever the tenure of Mike Schilt's going to be, with the same, I mean, you still have Manny, Tatis, Bogarts, Darvish, Dylan Cease, Luis Suarez,
I get it.
Robert Suarez. I mean, if everybody out there is going to continue to compare Mike Schilt and Bob Melvin and say how bad Bob Melvin is compared to what Mike Schilt's doing, then cool. If you want to compare, let's compare. Will Mike Schilt make an NLCS with this team as the manager?
I mean, we don't know.
Okay.
That's the thing. And nobody has any idea, right?
And if he doesn't, then it's hard for me personally to say that Mike Schilt was a better manager than Bob Melvin.
The other way to spin that, and your point's valid, it's very valid, is that if they make the postseason this year and don't make an NLCS, and they didn't make the postseason last year, wouldn't that be a step in the right direction under Mike Schilt?
Step in the right direction, absolutely. And if in year 2 here, which they make the postseason, everyone's coming back.
Of course.
They're not changing a thing.
Of course.
You might even get an extension. But
yeah, probably 1 year.
Yeah. They make the postseason this year and say next year they also make the postseason and they make it to the divisional round. Then maybe then if you want to compare Mike Schilt and Bob Melvin as managers with the Padres teams, then yeah, that's a decent argument because you got one guy that made it in back-to-back postseasons and you got another guy that made it to an NLCS and then followed that up with managing the most disappointing team in franchise history. So if you want to do that, then yeah, we can do that. But as of right now, being at 38 games in, is that the right math?
Yeah.
38 games in, we're already sitting here saying that Mike Schilt's way better than Bob Melvin, Sleepy Bob.
Jim, and you agree with what I'm about to say. All fan bases are like this. This is not overly unique to the Padres fan base, but we're always going to back our own, so to speak.
And I'm backing Mike Schilt.
When Juan Soto leaves, it was Juan Soto's fault.
Yeah, I know. When
Bob Melvin leaves, it was Bob Melvin's fault. If Machado didn't sign the extension and opted out, believe me, I know whose fault it was.
Right.
So that's just how sports work. Mm-hmm. I'm understanding of it. You're either with us or against us, so to speak. Right. Like when Juan Soto comes back in 2.5 weeks during your wedding and you completely bail on those shows and it's the biggest series in baseball history, I'm kidding.
Dude, you're gonna give me crap for that all week.
100%. It's over. Soto's gone.
Yeah.
He's enemy number one. When Bob Melvin came back here and he was in the dugout game one because of whatever happened, his player fell into the Padres dugout, and Schulte's looking at Melvin, and all of a sudden, Bob Melvin's public enemy number one. That's just how sports are. I'm not saying it's overly right. That's how it's always going to be, man. That's how it's going to be here, because I'm trying to use another example. Like, Tatis is a Padre until he's not. I mean, a lot of these long-term deals, maybe these guys actually do finish their careers here. Maybe. We have no idea. But when they're not here, they're not here. There's only so many Tony Gwynns that spend their entire career here. Trevor Hoffman has spent most of his career here. Everyone else is like, sorry, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. And it's like, this is not fair to continue to bring up the Bob Melvin and Mike Shildt comparisons. Like, oh man, Mike Shildt's doing way better than Bob Melvin. Like, is he? I think Mike Shildt does things that you might like that are better than Bob Melvin. That's perfectly fine. I think Mike Shildt is the right manager for this team, honestly, for this team. After the departure of Bob Melvin. Like, after the departure of Bob Melvin, I can't think of anybody that I would want over like a Mike Shildt, honestly. I just, on top of my head, I can't be like, oh man, I wish they got this guy instead of Mike Shildt. I think Mike Shildt, in the time after Bob Melvin and everything and what happened with this franchise with Peter Seidler, I think Mike Shildt was the right guy. That doesn't mean I think, they should have, and they didn't, but they should have fired Bob Melvin after last year for Mike Shildt, because Mike Shildt's better than Bob Melvin. And so sitting there comparing the two and saying Mike Shildt's the best, they're better than Bob Melvin at this. And yeah, it might be true. And Bob Melvin probably does things that are considered better than Mike Shildt with maybe the clubhouse or whatever. I don't know. But that's just stop with the constant, every time Mike Shildt does something, just having that be just this massive indictment on Bob Melvin and everything. They're two different guys. Let's go forward, move forward. It's over with. It's done. The Bob Melvin era here is over. He led this team to an NLCS, 2 straight winning seasons, whether you want to complain about last year or not, which a lot of people which we do. But that's the fact. Now you go forward. And in 2 years' time, if Mike Shildt's still here in 2 years, which, if he is, that means something went right, then we can talk about it. But as of right now, they're 19-19. They have the same record as they did last year at this time. I like this team better than last year at 19-19 because the trends are better. And I think they're playing better, especially on offense. The pitching, like you said, they're going to improve. And you have a frontline guy, Cy Young quality guy in Dylan Cease. You have a Yu Darvish who has pitched great in his last 2 outings. Musgrove things is worrisome. But other than that, you have a lights out closer, and we go forward.
All right, 70470 started with team. Tends to disagree with you because there's a lot of comparisons between Melvin and Shildt.
Okay.
360, Shildt made 4 pitching changes between the 7th and 8th inning yesterday. Melvin would have left Darvish in.
I can guarantee
to give up the lead. He would have blown that 6-0 lead.
I can guarantee you.
Also, Melvin had far more talent last year. How's he doing this year? 619.
Oh my God.
It's not just us saying Bob Melvin sucks. Ask Giants fans right now. They want him gone. 360, Shildt took the Cardinals to an LCS. Does that count?
Hey, do Giants fans want Bob Melvin gone, or do Giants fans want their GM gone for building a crappy team?
619, it's painful to listen to Jim go on and rant. Just nothing there.
It's painful to read your text messages.
So, okay, what you're saying is I tend to agree with everything you're saying. Although, for whatever reason, you get very passionate with the comps, the managerial comps. I am not as passionate about not willing to compare one manager to the next. We compare players. Like I'll be like, oh, this player wasn't as good as this player, and they've upgraded. I'm not saying Shilt's better than Melvin. I'm really not. I have no idea. I tend to agree with you. I think they're probably comparable managers. One has strengths, another has strengths. One has a weakness, another has a weakness. I'm just not as steadfast with it. Don't compare Melvin to Shildt, because I understand the comparison, because one guy was here last year and now he's gone.
I think why I get so worked up.
You get very worked up.
Is I sit here and covering this team for a decade plus, having the one year that was awesome. in the last decade plus just saying that guy, that manager is crap. And I'm like thinking to myself, and I don't want to say this to the entire fan base. There's just a select few. I really do feel like it's a group of people. Maybe it's bigger. I don't know. But man, are you guys just not grateful for that? Or are you sitting here just crapping on a guy? I mean, same thing with the Sotos and the Snells. Maybe not to Snell per se, because he did win a Cy Young last year. And he was one of the only players that actually performed last year. But like, are we just going to not be grateful for that? Or are you just going to say it's not good enough and that guy sucks?
I mean, to be fair, there's been a lot of commentary on Blake Snell since he left San Diego.
I know this, but there's been
included.
more. I feel like there's been more on Bob.
Maybe so. I mean, it's an interesting conversation. It's like, who gets credit for 2022 and who gets blamed for 2023? Is an interesting conversation. Scott Miller will join us on the other side. We'll talk about the Luis Suarez acquisition and where the Padres stand right now under Mike Shildt. So Scott Miller joins us on the other side. Plus, we have tickets to give away to a Luke Bryan concert coming up later this hour. Stay with us. All right, so imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free, no credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, guys, it's Schaefer. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash. They're doing it almost instantly with Loan Pronto's AI-based system, and you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home, and you can use that money to pay off all your other loans. In fact, the average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value, it's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval just minutes away. Here's the number to call. You can call right now, 619-207-4336. Again, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Again, 619-207-4336. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Equal housing lender.
All right, this update is brought to you by Toyota Carlsbad, relaxed and friendly since 1972. Padres, Cubs, moments away from first pitch in Chicago. Padres took game 1 of the series, looking to win the series today against one of the best pitchers in baseball in Shota Imanaga. Moving over to NBA basketball, game 1 of the Eastern semifinals between the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Boston has a 28-25 lead over the Cavs with 3:41 left in the first quarter there. And later tonight, 6:30 tip-off time in Oklahoma City, the number 1 seed, OKC, Dallas Mavericks. Spring in now to Toyota Carlsbad and save on over 850 new and used Toyotas with new Toyotas arriving daily. Shop and save at Toyota Carlsbad. Get inventory at toyotacarlsbad.com. Toyota Carlsbad, the most relaxed and friendly place for over 50 years.
Talk about all these 19-19 Padres, which are different than last year's 19-19 Padres per me.
For you. And me.
By the way, we could put it on X or Twitter. I just put a poll up on YouTube.
Oh, yeah,
who's a better manager?
Well, I do like this. Melvin dreaming publicly, saying he dreamed about managing the Giants while managing the Padres, but let's be grateful for that guy. I do agree that was a horrible thing for him to say.
No, hold on.
I understand.
We were saying when he was introduced as Giants manager?
I looked over the dugout over there and I always dreamed about managing.
Fair, I agree, but he didn't. It's not like we knew that while he was managing the Padres.
But every Padres fan thinks it that way, which is understandable.
Yeah. But it is.
I get it.
The truth is in between. That's what the truth is. Yeah. Schild isn't baseball's best manager. Melvin isn't baseball's worst. They're both comparable to your point. Does Melvin have a track record? He does. He's had success.
Yeah.
Does Schild have a track record? To some extent. He did have success in St. Louis. They both can be accomplished / successful. They both can have strengths. They both can have weaknesses. You know?
And I think Mike Shildt is the right manager for this team. Honestly, I do. I think that they did the best that they could do after letting Bob go.
All right, let's talk to Scott Miller. There's so much to get into. Again, the Padres in Chicago, 19-19 overall, getting set for game 2 of a series. Scott Miller has done an amazing job, of course, covering baseball for the New York Times. Of course, has covered a lot of Padres throughout his career as well. So, Scott, we always appreciate it. Let's just start with Luis Suarez. Were you as surprised as a lot of people were that this trade occurred when it occurred? And what do you make of this acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I was surprised. You don't see a blockbuster deal in early May very often. And, but then again, you learn, it's almost like, you learn never to be surprised by anything AJ Preller does. Just like the Dylan Cease trade, as the team was literally headed to the airport to go to Korea. Preller's open for business all around the clock, 24/7, 365 days a year, whatever it is. So yeah, I it's kind of like two reactions. Yes, as I said, I was surprised when the deal came because you just don't expect deals at that time of year. But then you have to step back and realize, AJ Preller, everything I just said about him. So, good move for the Padres. I know the people that love prospects, like the Keith Laws of the world, have panned the deal. But look, the Padres are in win now mode, and you don't hang on. I'm not saying you bankrupt the farm system, but now's not the time to just keep amassing prospects and not go for it when you've got Machado and Bogarts and Tatis and all those guys they have.
So with the addition of Luis Suarez here, does that or should that change expectations for this Padres team this year?
I think to a degree, it certainly makes the team better. I like Arise on the team better than Juan Soto on the team. I'll tell you that right now. I think he fits better. We talked about Soto, and I know he's off to a great start with the Yankees, and I know he's got home run power and all, but I still maintain he was disappointed in San Diego. And the thing I like about Arise is he's a contact hitter. He puts the ball in play. He gets on base. And, they've got Thump in the middle of the lineup with Machado and Tatis and Cronenworth, as we've seen. He's having a nice year, nice bounce back season. So, you need the guys like Arise to get on base at the top of the lineup, and that's why I like him better. I mean, Soto ended up, I think, being almost overkill. You know, there are too many guys alike that, you know, had power but didn't necessarily run or do the little things, whereas I think Arise does. In terms of expectations, I think, you know, the Dodgers are going to win the division, and that's just the way it is. I know we're only in early May, and by the way, if the Padres or anybody else win the division, I'd love to be right back on the air with you in October. You guys remind me of what I just said today, and I'll happily eat crow. But, I mean, over 162 games, the Dodgers are deep. They are what they are. So, basically, in terms of the Arise deal and whether it changes expectations in San Diego, I think the Padres have been playing for a wild card spot this year anyway. They cut their payroll. The Dodgers are what they are. So, I think from that perspective, it strengthens their chances at a wild card spot. So, yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I guess maybe it changes expectations. I don't think it changes them drastically. Like I say, I don't think, oh, now they have Arise, they're going to win the division. I still think, you know, the Dodgers have the depth, the power, everything else. But, yeah, I mean, it makes the Padres a little more formidable among all the teams challenging for the wild card spots. And, you know, as we know, once you do, if you can just get into the playoffs, you know, the Diamondbacks showed it last year. They ran all the way to the World Series. You know, I mean, you get in, you got a chance, and that's what A.J. Preller is playing for.
Yeah, even the Phillies 2 years ago is that 6th seed. Scott Miller with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Even before Arise, the offense had this crazy propensity for big innings. Like a year ago, forget the stat. Kevin Acee had an article. It was like their 28th game before they had a 4-run inning, and then their 36th game before like a 5-run inning. This year, and I don't have the number, I've lost track of it. They've had like 15 innings, Scott, of 4 or more runs. Why? How have they done this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a decent lineup, and you know they've been getting some production out of the lower half of the lineup, and that's certainly played into it. You know, to get those big innings, it can't just be Machado and Tatis putting the ball over the fence and then not much contribution from anybody else. I mean, I think it's been huge that Cronenworth has been back. I mean, back. When I say back, I mean, you know, he had the down year last year, but he's been, you know, more like his old productive self right now. I think that's been really big. You know, I like Mike Schilt stressing in spring training that every at-bat is a situation. You know, in other words, situational hitting, but not just waiting until, oh, there are 2 guys on and, you know, runners in scoring position. I mean, that's the most famous situational hitting. But I like that everything's a situation, and I think the Padres have taken that to heart this year. And even like last night's game, you know, playing a little ball, the Cronenworth Tatis double steal, you know, and then Profar punching the ball through the infield to get him home. You know, it takes things like that, and that's partly why the Padres have had so many big innings. You know, I think the last decade in baseball, we've been lulled into, it's kind of become more home run derby. It's whoever hits the most home runs wins. And some of the other strategic things, like the double steal last night, you know, kind of go by the wayside. And I like that this team is doing the little things as well as the big things.
What do you think of Mike Schultz managing this team so far this year?
You know, I think it's been good. I like the situation. Every at bat is a situation mantra. I think he's been pretty good. You know, the bullpen took a little while to settle in. We still see nights where the bullpen, you know, you can always question bullpen moves, but I think overall, I think Schultz made a connection with the team. I think he's been pretty spot on most of his moves, and I think it's been good.
All right. So again, Padres and Cubs playing game 2 of this series. In terms of, we talked about this, the big picture, Scott, before you go, like what's on the line for AJ? Like you acquire Dylan Cease, you acquire Luis Arise. The expectation is to get in. Is it get in or else in 2024 for the Padres?
I think so. I mean, I would lean towards saying yes. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, well, if they fail to make the playoffs, that A.J. Preller's gone. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go quite that far. Yep. But, yeah, I mean, I think the pressure is increased on him. I think, we talked about with, the tragic passing of owner Peter Seidler. I mean, Peter was probably AJ's biggest fan and biggest defender. And, Peter's the one that signed him through 2026. And, without Peter Seidler, the landscape has changed. It's changed for everybody with the Padres, and we're not quite sure. We've already seen the payroll had to be cut this year. And, there are other, we're not quite sure where all of the pieces are going to land yet. But there's no doubt there's a lot of pressure on the Padres right now, even at their current payroll, to win, to keep the fans coming into the ballpark. I mean, what have they had? About 8 sellouts already so far this year.
Right.
But the problem is if they miss the playoffs this year, that would be 2 years in a row, and you've had a window in time where you've got these, marquee talent like Machado, Bogarts, and Tatis. You can't just keep swinging and missing, number one, when you've got a roster filled with guys like that. Number two, if you miss the playoffs again this year for a second year in a row, eventually the fans are going to start to drift away, and they're not going to pack Petco Park quite as much as they have been. And if that happens, then you're going to start to hear a lot more about the big contracts that the Padres are obligated to pay: Bogarts, Machado, Darvish, on and on. So yeah, if they miss the playoffs, there's pressure in various areas, starting with financially. And so I think that could certainly change the landscape. I think, there's no question AJ Preller knows that, they need to win this year.
Scott, we always appreciate your time and your insight. Great resource for baseball fans and Padres fans. We will connect later on this summer. We appreciate you taking time for us here on Jon and Jim. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, great stuff. Scott Miller, contributor to the New York Times. All right, who wants Luke Bryan tickets? First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. You need to call right now. Union Amphitheater, a great giveaway. 877-767-4760. And the number to call for 2 free Luke Bryan tickets August 8th is 877-767-4760. Call right now. And Dennis Dodd from CBS will join us at 5 p.m. to talk about his reporting that an NIL college basketball tournament is nearly finalized for Vegas and will include San Diego State. Per his reporting, will join us at 5 p.m. Stay with us. All right, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, will join us at 5 p.m. An NIL basketball tournament coming to Vegas, according to his reporting, and including San Diego State. Stay with us. All right, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, will join us in about 12 minutes. By the way, if you're wondering when the NFL schedule is going to be released,
I've been losing sleep over it,
I was
actually.
waiting for it.
a week from tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific,
Oh, boy.
we'll be on the air.
Great. Can't wait to break it down.
If you're wondering who the Jags play week 3, we'll have it for you
Yeah.
a week from tomorrow.
When the Steelers play their week 3 matchup versus
one thing we will do is break down the entire Chargers schedule.
Oh, for sure.
That's one thing we will do here.
Whenever the Chargers schedule is released, we will break it down.
But maybe not.
No.
All right, Dennis Dodd will join us at 5 p.m. right now. Let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have John and we have Cameron. John, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with John.
All right, so John and John, I like that. Could be a good show name.
What are you trying to do here?
I'm just saying.
All right, John, you get John. Cameron, you get me. Are you good with that?
Sounds good.
All right. Brent, what's the question of the day?
All right. Today's question, we're going to get right to it. Who are the top 10 home run hitters in Cubs franchise history?
Oh, boy.
So we're looking for the top 10 home run hitters in all time in Cubs franchise history.
Okay. Cameron, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa.
Good
job. Good guess there.
Is he the franchise's leader?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy there. John, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I will go with a lifeline.
Lifeline first. I'll give you someone that I had managed a team of mine when I worked in the minor leagues for 2 years. Ryan Sandberg.
Wait. What?
Will you take Ryan Sandberg?
Yes.
Boom.
All right.
I'm just happy you said his name right.
Yeah, his name is Ryan.
Yeah, it's not Ryan.
No, it is. I'm kidding.
It's not. Cameron, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
Billy Williams.
Billy Williams. Is he on the list, Brent? He
Billy
is on the list.
Williams.
All right.
John, you're up next. What's your second guess? You don't have a lifeline, so it's all up to you.
Okay, I'll take another lifeline.
You don't have.
You only get one.
You just get one.
See, I don't know
5 seconds.
anybody.
You don't know anybody?
Just think like
no.
Cub.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a nub. Yeah, that's
Cameron
a nub.
can walk it off here.
Walk it off with the correct answer. You do have a lifeline if you want to do a layup right here.
But Jim
Unless you're
gets
going to get
things
arrested between now and then.
Or you can just. Okay.
All right, what does Cameron have?
What?
I couldn't hear you over
thing.
the sirens.
Turn his mic. Turn the thing down, Brad.
Yeah, who's?
I don't know which one of them it is.
Well, let's find out. Turn
something
one down.
There you go.
There it is.
All right.
Pick right.
Cameron,
I didn't pick any of them.
lifeline. What do you got? You want a lifeline?
Yeah.
All right. Ernie Banks. Will you take that?
Yes.
Wow,
Oh,
Jim with
on
his
the
first correct
list.
lifeline of the month. This is probably true.
Probably.
Wow, Cameron, congratulations. All right, who is on this list? I would have said Aramis Ramirez.
You would have been
I
correct.
would have said Sean Dunston.
No.
I would have said Ron Santo.
Yes.
Mark Grace is not a home run hitter,
No.
right?
No, he's not on the list either.
Chris Bryant.
No. There's someone from that
Yeah, I was
period.
gonna say,
Anthony Rizzo?
Well,
Yep.
Anthony Rizzo. Yeah,
Yep.
good one. All right, who else is on the list?
All right, Sosa's 1, Banks is 2, Billy Williams is 3, Santo is 4, Sandberg is 5, Rizzo is 6, Ramirez is 7, then Gabby Hartnett is 8, Bill Nicholson is 9, and Hank Sauer is 10.
Well, congratulations to Cameron because you're going to see Luke Bryan at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 8th. Concert week is almost here, guys. What's today, May 7th? It starts May 8th. $25 tickets to over 5,000 shows. That's up to 75% off. On sale May 8th through the 14th. 1 week only. $25 concert and comedy tickets. And fill your summer with shows. To get your tickets, go to livenation.com/concert week. Dennis Dodd will join us on the other side. CBS Sports, his reporting at this hour. There will be an NIL college basketball tournament in Las Vegas with huge brands, including San Diego State, in 2024 that will pay collectives $1 million each for their student athletes. So more on that reporting from Dennis Dodd at CBS Sports on the other side to kick off hour 3 of Jon and Jim. That's next.
This update's brought to you by Toyota Carlsbad. Relaxed and friendly since 1972. Padres Cubs underway in Chicago. Scoreless game, top of the second inning there. NBA playoff action happening right now. Game 1 of the Eastern semifinals between the Cavs and the Celtics. Celtics lead the Cavs 54-42 with 4 minutes left in the first half. And later tonight, 6:30 p.m. tip-off between the number 1 seeded Thunder taking on the Mavericks in Game 1 of their series. Spring in now to Toyota Carlsbad and save up to $850 on new and used Toyotas with new Toyotas arriving daily. Shop and save on Toyota Carlsbad's great inventory at toyotacarlsbad.com. Toyota Carlsbad, the most relaxed and friendly place for over 50 years.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We are following Padres Cubs. We also have enjoyed the reporting here from Dennis Dodd and Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, on this NIL college basketball tournament that we've discussed previously, but excellent reporting in here from Dennis on this tournament in Vegas that will pay each school's collective $1 million or more and could reportedly include San Diego State. It's nearly finalized, Dennis, and thank you for hopping on. According to your reporting, it's nearly finalized. When do you expect this to get done, and will it get done?
Right now, it's in a week. Yeah, I do think it'll get done. We weren't able to identify the 8th team, but we do have the 7 that are pretty much locked down for this really one-of-a-kind tournament. And when it does get going, it will threaten to I guess, have some upheaval in the preseason non-conference space because, you know, the Maui Invitational sort of rules that Thanksgiving week. If this thing takes hold, it will be in direct competition with the Maui Invitational for the top teams in the country, for a large part because of what you mentioned. They're going to pay each of these teams $1 million that will go to their collective and then be paid out to the players, and perhaps more in bonus money if they win.
According to your reporting as well, and Dennis Dodd is with us from CBS Sports, what I found really fascinating was you're talking about schools that potentially commit for multiple years, right? Maybe 3 or more years. And like you said, some of these schools, because these are blue bloods or some of the sports powers, a lot of these schools do participate in a field like the Maui Invitational. So what does it mean to get potentially not just 1 year, but potentially multiple years from these programs? Why are they committing for multiple years? Because of the guarantee to these collectives?
Well, yeah, that, and it's significant because NCAA rules state that you can only play in one of these, they call them MTEs, multiple team events, once every 4 years. So if you can lock these teams up for a period of years, and look, I don't know if we're there yet, but I think that's the plan for some of these schools. It is Vegas. There's money. You don't have to travel quite as far, although nobody's going to complain about going to Hawaii in November. I think that's the play. I think it becomes direct competition for some of these MTEs.
Dennis, what does it say about San Diego State? They got an invite to this tournament.
I think that because of who they are, because they are, it's not worth, beating around the bush. They're a national program. I think under JD Wicker, the AD under Brian, they've become that way. It's close. There's money involved. I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't want to say that. I think they should be honored that they did get invited and they did accept because of the accomplishments they've done. So, good on San Diego State. Maybe not a traditional blue blood, but absolutely headed that way.
So how is an event like this potentially paid for? Because traditionally, you think non-conference tournaments, like you said, MTEs, and there's some phenomenal events. There really are, but there's, you're not thinking 20,000 people at MSG or at T-Mobile. Now, maybe an event like this changes that perception. As in, where does the revenue come? Ticketing, television? How do they find this revenue?
Yeah, I don't think it's ticketing. I mean, the Maui Invitational is played in a high school gym or whatever it is, a small college gym over there. It ain't butts and seats. I mean, I think there will be some ticket revenue involved, but this thing is underwritten by a private equity firm called Redbird IMI, and it's subsidiary, I'm getting deep here, subsidiary of Redbird Capital, which is the founder and the CEO is Jerry Cardinale, who I met in December in Las Vegas. He's a fascinating guy and kind of gave some insights into how undervalued college sports are to private equity firms. And if people don't know who those are, they're probably in your portfolio if you have one. They invest in businesses that they can buy low and sell high. They expect a return on investment. Some of these investments are 20, 30 years long. And I'm not saying that's what this is, but there was a really interesting story on 60 Minutes last night about this private equity firm called KKR. And they had gone into a garage door company in rural Illinois and did an employee payment plan as part of the sale, as part of the buying and the sale. And these people made a 6x return. Some of these employees that have been there 20 years. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I do think that they think this is a worthwhile long-term investment. Redbird IMI, the private equity offshoot, here is headed by one Jeff Zucker, who you remember is CEO of CNN.
So when this tournament presumably gets underway here and everything's finalized, where do you expect this to be viewed? Like, how do you think people are going to be able to watch this tournament once this is finalized here?
Well, according to our reporting, it looks like it's going to be on a stream. Quite clear, but this is the kind of event that appeals to streamers. They're just kind of dipping their toe in it right now in terms of major sports. The NFL has Thursday night football on. Apple Plus has Friday night baseball on. This is a one-off event that they can see how it goes. They would be a financial partner in this as well. I'm not smart enough to know how this would pay off. I do know, I think we all know, that streamers were good enough to keep the Pac-12 together, but we're starting a one-off proposition. We're not trying to get rights for an existing conference. It looks like it's going to be on a streamer.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, with us right now. Jon and Jim talking about this NIL college basketball tournament reportedly coming to Las Vegas this November and including San Diego State, involving at least $1 million for San Diego State's basketball collective. That's the Mesa Foundation. The winner of this event could receive an additional $1 million as well. Dennis, is this the new frontier, as in what's happening potentially in Vegas? Could that impact other multiple team events? Could it even impact college football and bowl games in the future?
Well, don't think of it as the new frontier particularly. Think of it as how creative you can be with NIL. I wrote a story last week about how the state of Missouri has this very unique law that as soon as you sign, if you're an in-state athlete, as soon as you sign a letter of intent, you can begin earning NIL benefits, all on the up and up. So, in other words, for like 7 or 8 months before you even get on the practice field, you're earning money. You have to do something for it. It might be a car, it might be autographs, it might be something else. But because you're a Missouri athlete, you can get NIL benefits. And it helped Missouri land what some people are saying is their best recruit ever, this edge rusher, Williams Dwarney, who is a 5-star out of the western part of the state. So it's really about, I think this is a symptom of how people are starting to get more creative with NIL, and the fact that the NCAA really has no jurisdiction on it anymore. It is until something else comes along, de facto play for pay. We might get there pretty quickly with this revenue sharing proposal that's coming from the Power Four conferences, but not yet.
Very, really fascinating. So as you know, Dennis, because you've reported on it, it feels like each summer this decade, there's been this massive landscape shift. Texas, Oklahoma, SC, UCLA, Pac-12 last August. Are you expecting that to continue? Will we get more shifting this summer, or is that still, down the road potentially?
Yeah, I don't think anything this summer, but you've got those existing lawsuits against their own conference from Clemson and Florida State.
Yep.
And those seem to be the next, whatever happens with those and how that plays out. Some things think that, it looks like, just cutting to the chase here, they can buy their way out of the ACC eventually. They can negotiate out for some sort of figure. If they leave and Miami leaves, and there's a blueprint for North Carolina, maybe for Virginia, and then that collapses the Pac-12 and it becomes a Power 3 instead of a Power 4, and the Big 12 absorbs some of those schools, or the ACC just continues along without those schools, and the diminished state, and maybe isn't a Power 4 conference. But I think that's the next one to watch. I guess in terms of what we've been experiencing, it could happen fairly quickly. When I say never about this summer, you never know. But there are look-ins built into this new CFP agreement that seem to account for something like this. I call it the Florida State rule. There's language written into the new CFP contract, which again, obviously begins this year with the 12-year deal. Trying to remember the word. If there's any substantial, I think the word is substantial movement and realignment, the contract can be reopened. I would say if Florida State and Clemson got out of the ACC, that would be substantial. There's also language written in that there's an automatic look into the contract, or it could be adjusted in 2027. So, yeah, I do think there's going to be more movement.
Just going back to San Diego State real quick here, Dennis, you mentioned, in your eyes, and one of the reasons why they're in this tournament is because they're a national program, and, making the national championship game a couple of years ago, put them at that level. Is this something that we're seeing with San Diego State where it takes a couple years, but now we're seeing the perks of making a national championship game, and because they made the national championship game, they get to be involved in things like this, and in the future, it's because of their run they've had over the last couple of years.
I think it's way more than that. I mean, San Diego State, since Coach Fisher, has more than established itself. I don't have to tell you the success they've had. Yeah, did getting to the Final Four in the championship game matter? Absolutely. It's a recognizable thing. A lot of schools, I don't know, some schools didn't have a taste for this. It wasn't for everybody. Not everybody's playing Thanksgiving week. Some are, some aren't. But I think it says, again, I'll just repeat what I said. I think it's a tribute to what San Diego State has accomplished, that they were all in on this and were thought of to be invited.
Dennis, one more from me before you go, just back to realignment, but hitting on it locally. You reported on it. We knew it felt as if San Diego State was so close. And for a lot of periods of that time, nobody really foresaw necessarily the Pac-12 ceasing to exist, but that's kind of what happened. Where do you see San Diego State in this ecosystem with their investments, the football stadium, the successes in football and men's basketball? I don't know if the music ever stops, but if it does stop, where will San Diego State be situated?
I think San Diego State's in a good place. I think where we are now, standard playoff, short of there being a Pac-12, which there isn't anymore, the Mountain West is clearly the best group of 5 league going forward because of the teams they have, San Diego State being one of them. And there is that automatic berth for the highest ranked G5. It will take extraordinary circumstances, I think, for any more than that from the group of 5 to be in there. But look, I think there's a larger story here, and I call it, writing love letters to major college football. Whatever form this takes, we've seen all this discussion about the Super League and maybe, as many as 80 teams going forward. I think it's going to be more like 50 playing at the highest level. You've got to be in a situation where you're going to be attractive to, frankly, the Big Ten and the SEC to be playing in their shadow, for lack of a better term. There are situations going on at the likes of Kansas, at Northwestern, where they're tearing their stadiums down to the studs and rebuilding at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. As I said, I've called that the love letter to major college football. Don't forget us. We're committed. We want to be in the big time. And I think that's where San Diego State is with the new stadium. I think Sean Lewis was a fantastic hire in football. We already know about basketball. And I think San Diego State's in a great place to be, if there is a culling of the herd in this next decade, to be one of those schools going forward.
Yeah, it's really well said. And as you know, because you've been to Snapdragon, right, Dennis? The stadium?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I love it.
You wrote about, and I was going to say, what makes San Diego State almost unique in even modern, even Power 5 football is they use the facility year-round. It's really incredible the way they've been able to maximize revenue. I mean, Major League Soccer in 2025, they have women's soccer, they have concerts, they have motocross. Again, it's San Diego, so you can use it 365 days a year, which has to be a huge coup for the athletic department and the university. Dennis, we appreciate your time. I know it's been busy. Great reporting on this. We're excited here in San Diego to see San Diego State potentially in this event. So thank you for hopping on. We always appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Dennis Dodd reporting on an NIL tournament in Las Vegas, reportedly that will involve San Diego State.
Yeah, they're in a really good spot, as Dennis said. With Sean Lewis, the new the Snapdragon Stadium, the basketball program being where it's at. Yeah, I mean, it's all good things to say about San Diego State football and basketball right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sometimes I've said this so often recently, like you got to see the forest through the trees. And in the short term, like, man, so close to the Pac-12. But college athletics are evolving so rapidly that nobody really knows how and when music stops. Like, even if you're, give an example, like you could be like you just said, Northwestern in the Big Ten. Is Northwestern going to be in the Big Ten 25 years from now? Or will the Big Ten shrink just to have the programs like Penn State and Oregon and Michigan maximize revenue, or Vanderbilt in the SEC? Like, it's just constantly evolving and changing, and you just want to be well positioned, and they're well positioned. They have a new football stadium. They have success in football and men's basketball, and that's all you can really ask of them today, because we don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah, and with Sean Lewis, like, there's excitement there. He has to go out and they have to win. Basketball, they're proven winners. Like Dutch, they're proven winners. That's why it's always funny when everyone like freaks out. They're like, I don't know, guys, there's a track record here. Dutch knows what he's doing. We still have to see what Sean Lewis can do and what he can do with this program, and that's all fair and everything going forward. And we don't know if this is going to be a 4-8 season or 10-4
season.
8-4 season. Like we don't know yet. So, but all in all, I mean, things are in a good spot for the athletic program.
Hear me out real quick. If San Diego State locks into an NIL tournament that guarantees its scholarship players $100,000, because $1 million divided by 10, 11, like let's just say 90, whatever, 90 grand.
Okay.
And let's say right now, I'm completely making it up, but let's say that doubles what they're getting.
Okay.
You know, you go from 50 to 100 to like 100 to 200. It kind of is, I mean, not to be cliche, it's kind of a game changer, because if one of the reasons is players are leaving for more NIL money, completely reasonable, like the same reason why people leave jobs. Again, if you're Lamont Butler, maybe you could go from 200,000 to $1 million. I'm making it up, or 200,000 to 600,000. Well, then maybe you can't stay by getting another $100,000. But if people are leaving because they can make 100 here, but they can make 250 elsewhere, well, now if your 100 becomes 200, maybe it gives you another reason to stay. And $1 million for a collective. I mean, again, for Kansas and Kentucky, they got that $1 million. San Diego State, like it takes a lot of work to get to $1 million per year for your collective.
It's like hitting a jackpot,
right?
Not like the big jackpot, but it's like just like, oh, I got a big chunk of money there coming in. It's great. It's always nice to have a big chunk of money come in, and you having to just play in the tournament. Like it's not like, oh, winner gets $1 million, like it was in the play-in or the in-season tournament in the NBA.
Well, you get an additional. So
I know that's what I mean.
But
like,
you're right. Everyone gets $1 million.
If you're in, which San Diego State is, boom, here's $1 million. So right off the rip, you could go 0 in this tournament, and you still get $1 million. And I don't know how much it would hurt the program if you lose one of these games to one of those teams.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not going in a tournament with right. Like some of the worst schools as far as net ranking.
No, it's going to be right. Resume building opportunity. And
not at all.
The upside is absurd, the profile of the event. Plus, what if you win the event and you add in an additional $1 million? Plus, we're not talking about one and done. We're talking about being in it not just in 2024, but potentially 2025 and 2026. And what does that mean for San Diego State in the future? Like, will they be in Maui Invitationals? Will they be in other non-conference tournaments? But whatever it means is a good thing, because you look at the level of program included in the event, and for San Diego State also to be in it is only a good thing, obviously, for the Aztecs. All right, Padres Cubs underway. Remember, this is the I believe in you game for me. If the Padres win this game against Shota Imanaga, the best pitcher in baseball.
World Series.
And Randy Vasquez has matched Shota Imanaga. They are scoreless now in the bottom of the third inning.
This is what you wanted to see from Randy Vasquez tonight, being a Musgrove start, and he's matching him so far. Knock on wood. But kind of was like last night's game, where really good pitching for the first 5 innings. Padres broke through in the 6th in the Cubs bullpen, and that was all they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So far so good. They're if they win this game, I can't wait to see your reaction tonight on the wrap-up show.
Oh my God!
I can't wait to see your reaction if they win tonight.
I will be probably opening champagne. Would be my guess.
Are you going to be chugging champagne?
I have champagne in my fridge.
Okay.
Or would it be in a freezer? It would be in a fridge. I have it.
Okay.
That's
good.
So I don't know if I'll open it or not, but I mean, what else could you say if they do win this game, which would then give them, a 4-1 road trip? They'd be over 500. They just acquired a rise. They have Dylan Cease pitching tomorrow. They'd be going for a sweep. Again, and if they win this game, what else would you be saying about this team?
I would be saying I feel really good about this team.
Exactly.
But you're like, give me the World Series tickets right now.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm a believer in this. I'm already. Are
you not a believer now?
No, I'm optimistic.
Okay.
I'm optimistic on this team.
I'm optimistic too.
The difference is I can be, like I said, thrown into the deep end with a big win at Wrigley tonight against Shota Imanaga.
You don't know how to swim.
I do.
You do?
Somehow. I can't ride a bike.
I know. That's why I went to the whole. I know you can't ride a bike, so why should I think you know how to swim?
Because it's very.
Do you wear like little?
It's important though. You need to know how to swim. What if
floaties? You wear floaties?
No.
You've worn floaties, right?
Well, sure. Like when I was 2, like you did as well, probably.
Why don't you know how to ride a bike? Why have you never learned how to ride a bike?
I have a car. Gets there faster.
What are you gonna do when Jones asks you to teach him how to ride a bike? Tell him to ask mom.
It's been happening, and I'm like,
ask your mother.
Yeah, he's learning.
Here's some training wheels. Good luck.
Yeah, he's learning. Not with my help, but he's learning.
The first time I ever rode a bike.
Maybe she can teach both of you how to ride a bike.
It's been discussed.
It's a great feeling. I had my stepbrother help me, and he was pushing me on the bike.
Yeah.
And then I started pedaling, and he let go, and I didn't realize he would let go, and I was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh. I don't have any training wheels.
Well, it's like
that's pretty much everyone's experience learning how to ride a bike.
You're like, what's happening right now?
But when people say like, oh, it's like riding a bike, you never forget. I'm like, well, I don't really know what it's like to ride a bike, so I don't really know.
You never
learn to forget.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, we have Jim's back page. We are keeping you up to date on Padres Cubs as well. Stay with us. All right, so you're on the go, you're busy, work, kids, job, everything else. And when you get hungry, what are you doing? You're probably eating unhealthy food. No longer, not with Almond RX packs. Eat healthy. It's a tasty snack. You're going to eliminate the vending machine from your day. You're going to eat healthier. You're going to save money. You're getting your daily dose of vitamin D, which is an immunity booster. And it's a healthy, tasty snack for you and your family that curbs hunger. Look no further, folks, than Almond RX, the first and only skinless almond fortified with vitamin D. You're going to get your daily serving of 23 almonds. This company, founded by a San Diego sports medicine physician, Almond RX, packed with nutrients. I'm talking about to support your heart, cellular, and gut health. You can find Almond RX at any Foodland in San Diego County, Harvest Ranch at Encinitas, or at almondrx.com. That's ALMONDRX.com. Go there right now and get free shipping on your orders of $25 or more. You heard me right. AlmondRx.com. You're getting free shipping on your orders of $25 or more. Almond RX. It's going to curb your hunger, and it's perfect for the on-the-go lifestyle.
This update is brought to you by Toyota Carlsbad. Relaxed and friendly since 1972. Padres Cubs. We are scoreless in Chicago. It is what inning is it, Brent? It's fourth inning. I think it's the fourth inning.
It's the top of the fourth inning.
It's top of the fourth inning. Scoreless in Chicago. Moving over to NBA playoff action right now. Celtics, they lead 71-57 over the Cavaliers with 8:48 left in the third quarter there. Mavericks and Thunder get underway their series tonight at 6:30 in Oklahoma City. Spring in now to Toyota Carlsbad and save over 850 new and used Toyotas with new Toyotas arriving daily. Shop and save on Toyota Carlsbad's great inventory at toyotacarlsbad.com. Toyota Carlsbad, the most relaxed and friendly place over 50 years. Not 150 years, you idiot.
Invented. When did Henry Ford invent the car?
Why did I say
less than 150 years ago?
Why did I say 150 years?
When was
Toyota Carlsbad has not been around for 150 years.
1886, which is 140 years. So they didn't.
The Model T was introduced in 1908.
So 1908, the Model T. Yeah, right. They were around 30 years before the car getting ready for it.
Yeah, but I don't think Toyota Carlsbad has been around for 150 years is my point.
I don't think any Toyota has been around for 150 years.
You were correct.
Or any car.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
All right, two things. Unofficial poll, who's a better manager, Mike Schild or Bob Melvin?
I wonder what the poll says.
According to Padres fans, Bob Melvin's the worst manager ever.
Right, he sucks.
Because over 80% of our unofficial poll voters are voting for Mike Schild.
I know, he sucks.
Well, he is the current manager.
Yeah, he is.
Here's the other thing I wanted to mention. What do you have, Brent?
Toyota started in 1933.
But Toyota Carlsbad is
50 years.
50 years it's been there. Toyota
All right.
Carlsbad.
So you know how CBS Sports is reporting this NIL field that I've been obsessed with?
Yes, I know. You're going to go home and read like 50 articles and listen to 20 podcasts.
Now, they said 7 teams have committed, right? Not an 8th. The 8th team is being reported by CBS to be out of the Big East. Where does that take me?
UConn.
Round 3? Which should really be round 4?
If they really want to make this tournament like pop, even though I think it already does have the like pop factor to it from the teams you mentioned to me, why not get the defending back-to-back national champions? Yeah, go get the back-to-back national champions, first team since Florida in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Or I guess
that's right.
Yeah, early 2000s, mid-ish, 06, 07 it was, right?
Yep.
That would just be like, wham, right in your face. How you doing?
So, okay, so I'm thinking, I'm with you. I mean, UConn, could San Diego State and UConn really meet for a third consecutive year? And then there's also the local tie-in with Darren, the Johnnies, Rick Pitino. That's a pretty good draw.
Yeah, the Pitino and the Johnnies, yeah.
Right. But I mean, UConn, obviously, I mean, it's a national power that's won two straight national championships. So with all due respect to St. John's, and they're super relevant because of Pitino.
Yeah.
But UConn's like the most relevant program in the sport. So if you're going to try to get someone, you're probably going to try to
Are they still going to be really good this upcoming season?
No, I mean, they're going to go 14-18. Yeah, they're going to be good.
No, I meant like national championship contenders again.
Yeah, they'll be preseason top 5. So they'll be good.
Okay,
so all this talk about Shota Imanaga, and nobody's giving Randy Vasquez any respect.
Let's give him some flowers.
Let's show Randy Vasquez some love. Show Randy Vasquez some love.
Show Randy Vasquez some love.
Randy Vasquez.
Crown Zone some love
right
now.
Give Crown Zone some love.
Now, sure, I might be jinxing it.
You probably are.
Yard. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
So we're scoreless at the bottom of the 4th inning, which means Shota Imanaga has lowered his ERA, but Randy Vasquez has been really good to this point.
This is so while it's still happening, a huge start for Randy Vasquez. This is the Joe Musgrove game, and Joe's on the IL. We don't know when we're going to see Joe again. We don't even know if we're going to see Joe again, and we don't even know if Joe's going to pitch like Joe again this year. We just don't. It's a big mystery, big question right now. And they're going to need the Randy Vasquez.
I jinxed it. Now listen, I'll take responsibility. That runs on me.
That's you, bro.
That's not on Shilty.
No,
it's not
that's
on
you.
Melvin.
That's on you.
Not on Vasquez.
That's on you,
like,
man.
Vasquez has been perfect.
That's
He's
on
been
you.
brilliant.
That's on
he
you.
He can never allow a run. I just don't forecast it. Next pitch gone. I mean, no joke. There was one pitch.
Shut up, nerd!
There was one pitch he didn't swing at, and then the next pitch was, hit into the first row. Of course it was.
The wind took that one out.
Well, is that game? Against Imanaga, it could be.
You jinxed it, John. That is what
Such
we call
is
an announcer's jinx.
John is no longer all in.
No, I'm in. If they win this game, I'm all in.
John's now drowning in the deep end.
He's wavering.
I was like, Randy Vasquez.
He needs a life vest.
Extend this guy out.
It still stands true. This is a big outing for Randy Vasquez. To at least give the Padres some confidence when he goes out there and pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not been great so far for him. And we don't know how long Joe's going to be out for. So Brito, Vasquez, Waldron, they're going to have to pick up some slack here. Waldron did not look good in his last start. Randy Vasquez, up until when Jon jinxed the hell out of him, was looking great.
He was great until I mentioned it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Chat says, could see that coming from a mile away. Good job, Jon.
It's very doable in broadcasting.
So did Cody Bellinger.
It's very easy to jinx. Is it not?
No, it
is
very.
You've been there. We've all been there.
It's always like one of those things where.
Well, Jim just runs right into like. What's a recent example of Jim doing one? You just run right into it.
Oh, last week when he put that game the Padres blew against the Rockies when he titled the
Padres win series against
Padres
the Rockies.
win or was it Padres take 2 out of 3 when they lost?
Yeah, they win the series.
Yeah,
but no one mentioned no one talked about it really, so it's good.
I know. I'm fine with it. I can deal with it.
Yeah, it's not like you gave up 5 runs here in like this inning.
Now that's on you. That's on you. Next run is on you if it happens this inning.
Oh no!
You walk right into.
Don't walk him. Oh yes, right. Baby, got him.
We are really into this. May 7th game is what we're into. What's amazing here,
it's all or nothing for you.
But here's the thing. Here's what I was gonna say. This is pretty cool because coming on the other side of the strip, Dodgers await at home, which is always cool. And in this new universal schedule era, they only come twice. You only face the Dodgers at home 2 times per year. Yeah. You lost 2 games to Korea, as in 1 home game, both venues. So you're only going to see the Dodgers for, what is it this year, 5 or 6 home games? I don't know what the number is. It's not more than 6. I know that. And that's this weekend. We're actually going to be broadcasting downtown, Naughty Barrel, Friday, 3 p.m. to get you ready for that series.
Yes, we will. So
join us.
Come on down, Naughty Barrel. It's a Friday barbecue, 4 to 6 happy hour. They have over 100 beers to select from.
Remember last time?
What last time?
I'm like, I'm so thirsty. I please, like, when a waiter comes over, please.
Oh, and you told the waiter, no,
and
we
then
don't
a waiter comes over. Oh, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm like, I just told you I'm gonna die.
But I made up for it. I got the guy to come back over, and I said something. So we're good there.
So here's the deal. Then join us Friday, 3 to 6. Downtown. If you are going, please do join us. Maybe we'll have some giveaways, Jim. Will we have giveaways on Friday? Sure. We can have some we have stickers, by the way.
We have Jon and Jim merch that we'll be giving away for free. So come on down. We get some Jon and Jim merch that if you want it, we got it for you. Come on, say hi, and it's yours.
Okay. We've been kind of keeping one eye on the NBA playoffs. And by one eye, I mean it's not on right now. But we've been broaching the subject over the last 24 hours or so. Last night, we had this Knicks come from behind win over the Pacers.
We didn't even. Well,
it's in the open.
I know it's in the open, but I also was thinking to myself.
We didn't get to
the Celtics are up 11.
We never did the wrap.
Tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that.
Celtics are up 11 right now?
Yeah.
Well, one of the questions, we might as well just say it.
Yeah, sure. What is it?
I think Anthony Edwards is a great basketball player.
Do you think he's Michael Jordan?
But can we just maybe slow down a little bit? He's won. Their team has won 6 games in a row to start their postseason run. They're 6-0. But why are we saying he's the next Michael Jordan?
Why is that being brought up? I'm serious.
I don't know.
What is it about him?
Some people think he looks like Michael Jordan.
His dunking ability is unbelievable. And Jordan could fly.
Win like 5 titles first before you can compare.
How about one?
How about one?
Just win one.
To me, he reminds me of the way he plays. Not like just the way he plays. Like his mannerisms.
Is like what?
Is like a young 2000 version of Kobe.
Okay, so wait, you want to chill with the MJ comparisons, but you're willing to say it reminds you of 2000 Kobe?
Like, no. I'm not saying he's Kobe. I'm just saying like his mannerisms and the way he like it just feels like his athleticism and what he's doing.
Oh, he's a freak athlete.
Yeah, like athleticism reminds me of young 2000 version.
He reminds me of like a Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem, Jordan, LeBron type.
Yeah,
is how and with Steph shooting
a little
ability.
Bit of Steph in there.
That's what he reminds me of.
No, I'm not
off his big win.
Of course, I'm not saying he's better than Kobe or Dwayne Wade or even Michael Jordan. Give me a break. I'm just saying, like.
You're like, stop with the MJ comparisons. This guy's Kobe. Kobe's got 5 rings too. It's pretty darn good. You know?
Well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound that great.
I'm surprised he's getting all the comparisons when Jalen Brunson's on his 4th straight.
He's been
40-point game or 3rd straight.
Jalen Brunson, he's a different player. Kind of reminds me like prime Steph Curry with a little bit of Isaiah Thomas.
I'll tell you, man, his scoring ability right now is through the roof. He's undefendable, maybe unguardable. But he scored 40 plus in 4 or 5 consecutive games.
These Knicks playoff games have just been extremely entertaining. And,
I agree.
Usually I'm not, the Knicks are on. But, last night in the second half, I was glued to it. And, the 76ers series was great. And, the last few years in the NBA playoffs have been kind of uneventful, I guess you could say. And, just the first 2 rounds this year, we've had some great games.
But here's the thing. No Steph. No LeBron,
no Kevin Durant,
right? No, none of the old guard, and ratings are depressed a little. But now you're welcoming
but the
in
new guard, pun intended, is coming up now. Though
maybe you lose a battle, win a war if Anthony Edwards all of a sudden is in the NBA Finals. You know how many times the T-Wolves were on TV this year, television nationally?
None,
maybe 3 or 4,
5 times. Other teams are on 40.
Well,
That's a big difference.
If you get an exciting young player like Anthony Edwards, then people, I think, might watch and might gravitate to it more than the OKC Thunder.
Maybe.
No offense to the Thunder. I mean, they have some really good players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is really good. Maybe Luka can get that draw with Kyrie.
Yeah,
for sure. The Denver Nuggets situation,
kind of boring.
It's Jokic is an amazing basketball player.
And so Murray's pretty good too.
But
he's limping again. So
I mean, the Jokic thing is kind of just like, okay.
Jim's back page next. All right, Jim's back page plus Padres Cubs update next. Because that's not me. But then I just said, what if Kyle Higashioka does something good, and he nearly did, but he hit a foul ball.
It doesn't count.
That doesn't count a foul ball?
No.
In cricket, it counts.
Counts as a strike.
Right. 1-0 Cubs, top of the fifth inning, 2 outs, under first for Kyle Higashioka.
You just have to say what if before things, and then it'll happen.
What if Kyle
like Surf Ninjas?
If he does this?
Yeah. What if he
gets on base here?
Mm-hmm.
What if the house blew up?
Oh, that's not.
All right. What day is today? Tuesday?
It's Tuesday, John.
All day?
That's
last time I checked. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, join us tomorrow. Full post-game Jon and Jim reaction because the game tomorrow is at 11:20.
11:20.
So we'll be on the air. The game will be over. Join us tomorrow at 3 p.m. Right now, let's get to this.
This isn't really like a story per se. It's more of just kind of like information being passed along to people.
That violates the rules.
No. There was a report today stating, or it was a study about how many McDonald's restaurants there really are in the world.
Isn't there just an answer? Like, how many McDonald's restaurants are there?
So I didn't know that was debatable.
Yeah, is it a debate or is there like a number?
No, there's a number.
Okay, so what's the number?
The number is
big controversy.
No, there wasn't a controversy. Yeah. They're just like, hey, guess what? Here's how many McDonald's restaurants are in the world.
Right.
And the numbers is kind of staggering.
A billion.
No, I'll say 24,900.
There's more than that. We're talking worldwide?
In the world. 24,900.
There's more than that. I bet there's that many just in the States.
All right. So what's your number?
25 million.
25 million?
It's the world. The population of the world is
people.
25 million.
One for every 12 people or something.
Dude, and there's a Starbucks on every other corner. So, you know,
I said 25K and Brent said 25 mil, right?
Well, you're both.
Hey, it's they didn't get to over 1 billion burgers sold by having 10 locations.
How many? There's 19 locations.
41,822 locations. That is an increase of almost that's an increase from 2022's count of around 40,000.
Around? Like, isn't there an exact number?
Now, late last year, McDonald's announced that they plan to open 9,000 new locations worldwide by 2027.
Where?
I don't know. By the end of 2024, McDonald's expects to open an additional 2,100 locations, with 500 of them being in the U.S.
Yeah, wow. There's 111 McDonald's just in San Diego County.
Wow. Gee, that's amazing.
That's why I figured it'd be high.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah. So by the year 2029, they expect to have 50,000 McDonald's locations worldwide.
Idea. Let's do a show from all of them. Like, we'll go to one each day for 50,000 days.
You know how long 50,000 days is, John?
Well, here, look at it this
50,000 days.
3,650 is 10 years, which means 36,500 is 100 years. So it'd take 150 years to hit one a day.
136.
So we'd have to do two. We'd have to do two a day.
It would take 136 years.
Right. So now we'd have to do two a day to do it in like 60 or 70 years.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Or three a day.
It's not happening.
We can bang it out like 50 years.
You know what happened on this day in 2016, John?
I do.
What
do.
happened?
Bartolo Colon went deep at Petco.
Correct. Tops the trading cards has sold 8,826 Tops cards for this moment. This card now shattered the previous record sale of moments that Tops has created for cards.
Shattered the previous record.
Yeah.
Did they just put this on sale to commemorate the anniversary?
All it says here is on this
year anniversary.
Says on this day in 2016, the impossible happened. Bartolo Colon hit a home run. Tops has sold 8,826 Tops cards of the moment, shattering previous sales records.
Okay. Incredible.
Amazing. An original Donald Duck comic strip from 1941, John, sold for $10,000 this weekend, 17 times its estimate.
So it was only expected to sell for a few $100s and it went for 10 grand.
Correct.
I wonder why it went for so much money if it was expected to go for a few hundred.
Because it's an original Donald Duck by Walt Disney and it's signed by Walt Disney. So maybe that's
Is it also signed by Donald Duck?
Well, yes, because
it's Walt Disney.
So yeah.
Okay. Like a paw print, or what do ducks have? Feet?
They have webbed feet.
Webbed feet.
Wings. Never seen a duck before.
I'm officiating your wedding. Lots of jokes in there, Jim. Oh boy. For you.
Hey, look at Randy Vasquez. Good outing for Randy. Didn't go 5 innings, but good outing. Ish.
No, it's good outing. Absolutely.
Good outing.
Absolutely. One run. 1-0 Cubs in the fifth. All right. If you missed anything today, sportsrc.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. If you're listening to us on podcast, please leave a review. Find us on social media at Jon and Jim. And we're back tomorrow at 3, recapping the Padres Cubs series. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here. It's San Diego Sports 760.
Okay. Peace. Bye.